Yeah.
that happened.
Stop
voguing, mate.
Hello EFD squad and welcome back to Transfer Review, the final one for the foreseeable future. Probably come back when the window reopens in the summer. Makes sense. Where we're doing our best, worst, best value and weirdest decision, aren't we?
That's right.
It's super personal. The transfer window shut almost 2 weeks ago now, but we're still going to persevere because we have opinions and we want to ram them down your throat. Patrick, you'll start with your best transfer, and it's a good one.
Yeah, it's Lucas Moura to Spurs. I know you like this one because I can tell when you know all the numbers. How many goals did he score last season? 11
in the
goals.
league. 20 in all competitions.
I've got 12 down here, so you already embarrassed yourself. 12 goals, 5 assists in 2,400 minutes I've got anyway. So that's a goal involvement every 143 minutes. That's pretty good. Now he's 25 years old, so there might not be that much growing left to do, but it's not impossible that he would get a little bit better, especially under Pochettino, who I do think is a better class of manager than PSG's last few, certainly.
Yeah, it's no surprise that he posted his best figures last season as he got a decent amount of minutes.
Yeah. He played an awful lot last season. Now this year, barely playing at all, can hardly get in the team, and it's understandable, the wide talent that there is. But at Spurs, they don't actually have a lot of fast players in attack. Their fastest players are probably their wing-backs in Danny Rose and Serge Aurier. And after that, they've got Heung-min Son, who is pretty quick. But the rest of them aren't. And so I really like this move for giving them some pace and versatility in the wide areas. Plus, they need creativity. We've always said they're too reliant on Eriksen. Last year, Eriksen created 3 chances a game. Their second best creator was Lamela, who played under 500 minutes. And then it was Moussa Sissoko. Well, Lucas actually creates 2 chances a game, and he can play on both sides. 25 million quid, I think, for a top class addition to beef out that squad. When you think that they came second last year without Lamela, without Lucas, they did it with Nkudu and Sissoko as their backup wide players. I'm actually quite excited about what Pochettino could do with him.
Yeah, significant upgrade. Agreed on the likes of Ng and Nkudu, wide talent they've bought from League and in previous years. I think he's going to have a positive impact. Spurs conducting very good business. Don't usually buy in January, do they? But I've gone for a transfer, Pato, where no cash is involved.
Not yet.
No glitz or glamour. Exactly. But it's a player I deeply admire. It's Rafinha, who's gone on loan to Inter Milan from Barcelona, with the soon-to-be 25-year-old available for £35 million at the end of his loan fee, which I think is still a relatively modest fee for a man of his talents. He only appeared once for Barcelona this season. That was in the Copa del Rey after sitting out with a knee injury for around 9 months. That's his second serious layoff in the last 2 years, and I think that's probably reflective in the price that they're asking for him, because at points last year, it looked like the sky was the limits. He played in central midfield, he played on the right of midfield, and I think he got around 8 goal contributions in just 1,000 minutes. Really helped to Luis Enrique's side out some tight spots as they had an underwhelming season, didn't they? And his ability to create chances, to score goals, which was evident on his debut, in fact. I think he had 2 shots after coming on for 65 minutes, which was more than a handful of Inter's midfielders who started the game, particularly Perisic, who was pretty poor last week. I think Inter's midfielders so far this season have only contributed 6 goals. So his threat will definitely add something to Spalletti's side, who've started to falter as Mauro Icardi's form has dried up, or his service is dried up, might be a fairer statement. Now Icardi is responsible. He's scored or assisted 50% of Inter's goals this season.
I mean, it's good for him, but it's not good for them, is it?
No, not at all. Especially when Perisic started the season in such fine fettle. He's looked quite jaded, relatively ineffective in recent weeks, so he needs to get out of this funk. Candreva went off, like a shot as well. He's not got an assist in a long time. But Icardi, 18 goals, 1 assist out of 38 goals in total. 1 assist, that was poor English from me. Rafinha, we know he's a bit of a midfield metronome as well. 93% pass accuracy. He created 1 chance per game last year. It's not bad from central midfield, getting off 2 shots as well, which shows the nature of the beast, box to box. 2 tackles and interceptions per 90 as well, so very well rounded. I think this is smart business. Inter haven't conducted a lot of smart business in recent years. Look at the centre midfielders they bought. Kondogbia, João Mario for a combined £80 million. Two very decent players. They've just not utilised them correctly, or they've bought in new managers and they've not fit into the new systems that have come in. It's been a bit of a merry-go-round, hasn't it? I mean, look at Kondogbia, great at Valencia under Marcelino, so maybe they'll bring him back. But this one is one of my favourites. What do you think, guys? Do you agree? Let us know in the comments below. Moving on to worst transfer.
All right, my worst transfer is an Everton one. Now, so many of the transfers they've done over the last year have been absolutely horrific, and this is possibly my least favourite of them all. That's not true, it's Gylfi Sigurdsson. He's terrible. But Cenk Tosun has come from Besiktas for a fee that could rise as high as £27 million. Oh my goodness
Sounds
me.
like an STD. I've got Cenk. I've got...
You know, mate. Now, the thing about Tosun is his goal tally on the face of it looks pretty decent. 8 and 16 this year. He's won 2 titles in the last 2 years in Turkey. Last year, he got 20 goals in 33 appearances. But the Turkish league is terrible. Tosun is 26, so he's not going to get much better than he is now. And while he got 20 goals in the league last year, Samuel Eto'o got 18. Samuel Eto'o is 36. Wagner Love was top scorer. He's 33. That's worrying to me. You know, you think, oh, well, 20 goals is pretty good. And then you look at the people around him and you think, maybe it's just not that hard to score in that league. Now, he also doesn't have any exceptional physical abilities, which I think is becoming more and more of a problem in the Premier League. It's a league where athleticism is absolutely necessary now. He's not especially tall, he's 6 foot. He's not especially fast. He's not a great dribbler. He completed 16 dribbles in 33 games last season. He's not creative. He makes under 1 chance per game. And while his shot numbers are good, they're not spectacular. And that means that if they decline at all in his transfer from Turkey to England, then he's going to start looking like an exceedingly average player immediately. At the moment, he comes over with 3.3 shots per 90, 2.8 from inside the box. Those are very good, but like I say, they're in Turkey and he's going to be up against much more athletic, much better drilled, much better coached players. And I just worry that that's not going to translate. So
kebabs though.
Well, that's a good point. Depending where you are though. Like in East London, you're absolutely fine.
Best kebab in London, where?
I don't want to start a flame war in the comments. Like George will be on there with his trident, his pitchfork, being like livid. But anyway, so far Tosun has played 1.5 games in England. He's taken 3 shots. He's got none on target. Now, this is a lot of money, and frankly, I think that it's all getting away. I hate this move. I think they could have just got Walcott, and that would have been fine.
Yeah, now Everton have money, they should probably formulate some sort of concrete transfer plan, shouldn't they? Because
That's crazy, dog.
they appear to just be plugging gaps with short-term, expensive solutions. Quite old. They're bought quite old as well, haven't they?
You say plugging gaps, but they were like, let's buy number 10. Let's get another number 10.
Yeah.
And then they were like, you know what we could do with? Let's get another number 10. Why not?
We don't have anyone quick. Theo Walcott, is he still quick?
Yeah, he's fit.
Yeah, 28, 120 grand
Let's go
a
on
week.
FIFA. Who's quick? Theo Walcott. Quality.
Now my one's a little bit more contentious, as it happened in the summer, but it's very relevant now because of how one team's form, how their season is currently unfurling, and it is Diego Costa to Atletico Madrid. I think we've all forgotten about the sheer size of this move. £60 million, Patrick, to Atletico Madrid. He's 29 years old. He turns 30 in October. So on the face of it, not a bad deal for Chelsea. He's at a good age to move on, isn't he? But they are severely lacking goals at the moment, heavily reliant on Eden Hazard, and they're missing their 20-goal striker, aren't they, at the business end of the season, shall we say.
And you could argue as well that it was like, the issue between Conte and Costa was the first sign of Conte starting to have trouble at Chelsea after what was kind of an amazing kind of honeymoon season last year, right?
And I think subsequently he's alienated a few more members of the squad like David Luiz and Michael Emenalo too, who's the technical director. I think he's recently moved on to Monaco.
Yep.
And this deal doesn't look great when they were prepared to reinvest half of that princely sum on someone like Andy Carroll.
Yeah.
Again, similar to what you were saying about Everton, the transfer policy at Chelsea seems to be a bit of a mess at the moment, doesn't it? And they've only scored 43 goals so far, Pato. At this point last season, they'd scored 55 goals, and they've already lost 6 times, which is more than the entirety of last season. So they've fallen off a cliff, haven't they? Although, I think still only 1 point behind Liverpool. So had they beat Bournemouth, had they beat Watford, they'd be in second at the moment.
Yeah,
so
I mean, it is fine margins, isn't it?
It is, and it's made the race for Champions League football interesting again. But if they can keep Alvaro Morata fit, the future does look bright. He's taking 3.5 shots per 90, more shots from inside the box as well than Diego Costa last season, and he has a better shot accuracy. He also has a slightly higher goals per 90 at this point, at around 0.6 to 0.5. So again, like you said, fine margins, but a good start to his career. If they can keep him injury-free, great, but I still think shouldn't have let him go.
Yeah, they've thrown this season away for a bit of cash.
Acrimonious circumstances.
Now we move on to one to watch, and I've got a contentious one too. I've picked Rodri from Villarreal, who's on his way to Atletico Madrid. Now that doesn't happen until the summer, but they've sewn up the deal already. And we brought him up earlier in the season. We listed him in a scout report as a potential replacement for Jordan Henderson at Liverpool. Proud of this one. 21-year-old, he's agreed to join Atletico Madrid in the summer for around 20 million euros, which is nothing at all really for somebody who's already got experience in a top league and is ready to contribute straight away. He actually came through Atletico's academy, but he was released because of a lack of physical strength, which you kind of understand given the way Simeone's side play. But I don't know. I mean, like, he's clearly shown that he can hold his own in a division because he came into the side to replace Bruno when Bruno got injured, and you can't do that if you're a shrinking violet anyway. Now they desperately need reinforcements at the base of midfield. Thiago's retired, Gabi's 34, and what they've got here is a great young Spanish talent who's been likened to Busquets. He's actually third in La Liga for passes completed this season, behind Aramendi and Rakitic, but ahead of Toni Kroos. He completes 66 passes a game to Gabi's 68, so he's in the same ballpark, 90% accuracy, and completes 5 long balls a game. So it's not like he's conservative with his passing. He's got a bit of range to him. He wins the ball back 3.6 times a match. He wins 73% of his aerial duels. 73%.
How's that for not physical enough?
That's mental. Those are like Chiellini numbers. And anyway, he's signed up until 2023. It's really good because actually that squad has been kind of quietly getting older. You think of a bunch of their players as young, and people like Saul are, but then there are people like Koke, who we think of as a young player, but I believe he's 25, 26 now. And so they do need to rejuvenate it, and Rodri is exactly the right sort of signing. I'm genuinely excited to see how he does in that team next year.
Yeah, Diego Simeone runs his players into the ground as well,
Yeah,
doesn't
he does, yeah.
I mean, Gabi may only be 34, but when he came on the other day against Valencia, he looked ancient.
Yeah, he's
and
an old
was
bloke.
lucky not to get sent off in the 15 minutes that he played. Great player though, great servant, great guy. Talking of great
dog.
Marco Piazza, or Pajaka, or Piaka.
Yep, that
from Juventus to Schalke is my pick. I think this is a very savvy signing. Schalke have very quickly assembled a dynamic, exciting young team to watch, haven't they? They've got the likes of Goretzka, Max Meyer, Baba Rahman, I think they got on loan from Chelsea as well. Whilst other German teams, such as Borussia Dortmund and RB Leipzig, are going through tough patches, relatively speaking.
There's an avenue into the Champions League you can see right now, right?
Exactly. Dortmund, their struggle has sort of stabilised them, but still not setting the world alight by any means, are they? Needed Batshuayi double on his debut, didn't they, to get past Köln. Anyway, stats about Piazza. He has 2 goals and 3 assists for Juve's youth team this year, Pato, having not played a minute of senior football for the old lady.
Not a great sign.
Yeah, not surprising given that he's 23, but Schalke need attackers. Their top scorer is 28-year-old Guido Bergstaller on 7. Their next highest goal scorer is Football Manager legend, 20s all over the shop. It's Naldo. What a great situation.
Yeah, he's got 5, I think, which is absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, how old is he now? He must be 35.
Easy.
That's mental. A 35-year-old centre-back is their second highest scorer. Sort it out, Schalke.
But Piazza has played 3 times for Schalke already this season at left wing, centre forward and as a second striker. He's got a goal in 111 minutes, so it's a decent start to his tenure there. But his stats from last year suggest he might be more comfortable playing as a striker than a winger.
Yeah, because that's what Juve bought him as, a winger, right?
Yeah.
And he didn't look great there.
And then they bought Bernardeschi to go on the wing, who is better.
Yes, he is better. I will agree with that. And
Yeah.
Douglas Costa also better.
Better. Deshi. Anyway, Piazza played around 500 minutes for Juve last year, created under 1 chance per 90, but he took 2.5 shots with 2.3 of them coming from inside the box, so he's comfortable operating in the final third. Also a pretty solid dribbler. 2.3 completed per 90 at a 60% success rate. So, has very usable assets to his game. With the right bit of coaching in the right position, I think he will flourish.
In a way, he's kind of like, he's not as good, but he's kind of like Draxler when Draxler was at Schalke, where he started off as a winger, then they had an injury to Huntelaar and Draxler went to
Second
centre
striker,
forward,
yeah.
and they had like a guy up front who was just a dribble monster and was quicker than all the centre backs he was up against.
Similar sort
I
of
quite
physique
like that.
as well, actually.
Yeah.
There is no option to buy for Schalke. Maybe Juve are going to persist if he puts up solid numbers. But as you said, with a solid shot at Champions League football, they're currently in 5th, 1 point off second. Piazza may make the difference between, you know, one of those lucrative berths in the Champions League for Schalke. It'd be good to see them back in Europe's elite competition. Big fan of the football they're playing this season. Moving on to our last section, which is worst decision. Not just worst transfer. There is a difference.
What's your worst decision? What's your worst decision? Come on, you little
I'm glad you asked Patrick Van Straaten, even if it wasn't a very detrimental tone. You know, let bygones be bygones.
You loved it.
But anyway, it was letting Batshuayi leave Chelsea. Now, this could be viewed as a decent decision. Send one of your prodigious young talents out on loan to get some minutes to develop his all-round game in a competitive league such as the Bundesliga. However, I don't feel that is what Conte is doing with this transfer.
No.
I feel like Conte is saying here, I don't want this player at the club and I desperately need the funds that he could generate or his position in the squad to bring in someone to fix my short-term problem.
Yes.
Hence Olivier Giroud. Now, the fact that they've bought him, I think, justifies what I've just said, because what happens to Batshuayi when he comes back to the club and Giroud is still there blocking his route into the first team? I don't think Conte has Chelsea's best interest at
Long-term interest.
long-term interests at heart. I mean, which manager can afford to do that these days? But I don't think he has, more pertinently, the players' long-term interests at heart. Now, let's have a look at some of his stats from this season, because despite his very limited game time, Batshuayi is playing pretty well at Chelsea. He's shooting around 3.2 times per game. He has 2 goals and 1 assist in the Premier League, which isn't bad given that he only had 360 minutes. He also has 2 in the Champions League, including that big goal away from home against Atletico, was it?
Yeah, won them the match.
Yeah, exactly. He showed up there, didn't he? And he did. He subsequently scored twice on his debut at Chelsea. Though at Dortmund, though they were pretty fortuitous, weren't they?
Yeah.
The one that was ruled out for offside, rightly so, kind of just hit him and went in. But it shows he's picking up
Yeah, and if,
the right sort of
if Harry
positions,
Kane did that, we'd be like, oh, well, great instinct.
Yeah, exactly. Now, including the league and the FA Cup too, the 24-year-old Belgian actually has 12 goals and 2 assists in 1,100 minutes this season. That's a goal involvement every 78 minutes. And in the last few games I watched him play, like Brighton, where he was a very willing runner, sort of swapping out pretty judiciously with sort of Will.i.am and Hazard on the wing. I thought he's a player who could be very useful to Chelsea while Morata has this back injury at the very least.
Yeah.
But he just seems to, he doesn't rate him whatsoever. And I know there's been plenty of Chelsea fans in our comments that have said his touch is suspect, he can't pass, his link-up play's terrible. But when you're getting inconsistent game time, it is, I imagine, pretty hard to find a rhythm, especially when the Chelsea formation keeps changing. Eden Hazard has played up front alone by himself at points, hasn't he? So it must be pretty demoralising in Michy Batshuayi's shoes. I hope he has a really good season in Germany. I hope he stays there, to be frank.
Me too.
And I think it's probably a good move for his World Cup aspirations, actually. Who is yours, Patrick? Because I know it kind of segues.
Yeah,
into
it's
it.
related. I mean, just to add to that, I think whoever comes in as coach after Conte, assuming Conte leads in the summer, is going to have to ditch either one of Giroud or Batshuayi, and everybody's going to know that Chelsea want to get rid of Batshuayi if they decide to sell him. And I feel like that's going to drive the price down. Like if Chelsea fans are whining about his touch and his lack of ability in link-up play, they're going to love Giroud because that's all he can do. He's amazing at that stuff, but he can't run. Like, I mean. The Giroud move is my worst decision, and I was on the fence about this one a little bit because it's complicated. Arsenal kind of needed to let him go to Chelsea in order that Batshuayi could go to Dortmund, in order that Aubameyang could come to Arsenal. And Aubameyang is good enough that you let Giroud go to make it happen, I think. Like, Aubameyang is an exceptional forward.
Yeah, you look beyond the age thing as well, because he's 28.
Yeah, he's 28.
55 mil.
He's 28, and the thing is, like, I feel like I've seen so much nonsense written about the way Aubameyang plays recently. Like, all this stuff. Like, he does run in behind and stuff, but his movement in the box is really good. Like, quite often Dortmund have teams pinned back. He's not always running into space, and it's his ability to find gaps which actually, I think, defines him as a striker.
Weren't all of his goals, most if not all of his goals last season, from inside the box?
All bar one of his goals during his time at Dortmund has been scored from inside the box.
Which shows he's a specialist in the area, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of what Lacazette was brought in for, I guess, to an extent.
Lacazette's great at finding space in the box, but actually Lacazette this season, they don't play similarly either. I don't really get that argument either, because Aubameyang does kind of go in behind, and Lacazette actually wants to come deep and join in with the link-up play, which is why I think they can potentially work together. But the thing is with Aubameyang, even in a dysfunctional Dortmund side this season, like you were talking about before, he's got 13 goals and 3 assists in 1,400 league minutes. Under 2 different managers, with the team not really making sense, with injuries coming in and out of the side, still very, very good, still the second highest scorer in the Bundesliga, no prizes for getting who's first. But he's cup tied for the Europa League, and I think at this point in the season, Arsenal need to say top 4 is gone, we prioritise the Europa League. Now, the teams that are in it, they look good on paper, but I don't think they're going to play their strongest sides in the Europa League. Atleti, Dortmund, Leipzig, Napoli, they all have tough domestic campaigns. Celtic, amazing side. And Napoli and Leipzig play each other in the next round. Dortmund have Atalanta in the next round. So at the very least,
a tricky tie.
Yeah, so at the very least, 2 really good sides are going out in the next round, while Arsenal have Ostersund. So I think they should prioritise the Europa League. But letting Giroud go and bringing in Aubameyang, who is cup tied, means that an injury to Lacazette would leave Arsenal playing Eddie Nketiah up front in the final of in the latter stages of a competition, which means pretty much everything to them this season. It means the opportunity to get back into the Champions League. And for that reason, I think that it's a slightly foolhardy move. Like, it might pay off, and an injury to Lacazette is potentially unlikely, but if it all goes wrong, Arsenal are going to look like total idiots. And it's kind of their own making.
And, you know, severe lack of beard game now at Arsenal.
That's true. Yeah, Aubameyang's kind of got a stubble situation, but it's not good. Lacazette's a good beard.
It's all right. You probably won't see Aubameyang in London Fashion Week as well. When does that happen? Because he has a tendency to fashion shows, doesn't he?
Anyway. I mean, he dresses all in gold, though. He dresses like a tit.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so does Bellerin. That's kind of a thing, isn't it?
Prize tit. We should probably wrap this up.
Yeah.
So that was our January transfer review, guys. We'll pick this up again in the summer, but until then, leave your best, worst. What were the categories?
Underrated,
and worst decisions in the comments below. Patrick Van Straten, what is on elsewhere?
We've got 90+1 facts, 90+1 facts about Aubameyang. That's very much on topic. We've also got Sanchez from a couple of weeks ago. We've got all the boys, everyone that you want to learn everything about, and some other people too.
That's all of that.
Yep.